Good evening,
Hello,
everyone.
everyone. Hi, guys.
Good evening. Welcome to another Unplugged live session. Here we are, the three of us again after, well, a long day. First of all, I'm in a different setting. I'm considerably close to Sergio today. So I'm here on the outskirts of the city of Porto. And well, with me, Gabriel Lima in the Algarve, Sergio just well across the street, almost across the street. And be very welcome to another Unplugged live session. So for today, we bring here a little bit of a topic that it's important. The peak season is starting, and pretty much there's a few tips and a few things we want to discuss because a lot of people will face crowded places, parking issues, traffic, and that information very often doesn't come online. So we are here to share some of our insights on things to do or things to avoid to maximize your experience in here. And well, today I'm gonna start with Gabriel. So Gabriel, you just wrote the post at our group Portugal Unplugged, and well, what do you have to share with us today?
Well, guys, we all noticed that, almost mid-May, so we are getting more people. Not as much as in other years, but we've been having all these issues around the world. So, the petrol crisis and all this stuff. But actually, we have way more people. And while I can see here in the Algarve, and of course, you can see also in Porto do Valle, Lisbon, Sintra, that we are having more people. And I mean, even yesterday I was talking with my guests. They came from Cayman Island, and the parking lot by Ponta da Piedade, it was already packed. It's a very small parking, as well as Camilo, quite small. And then when in the off season it's okay, but when we start having way more people going there, rent a cars and buses and camper vans, RVs, whatever, the issues they start rising. And well, this kind of tour I just ran yesterday. It's now a product that I reactivated on Aviator TripAdvisor. So it's more basic, which means it doesn't include the walking tour, which is suitable for many people. And no wonder I got today a nice review, and they also they touch this matter. About having time on their own. But when I run these tours where people they have some time on their own, I have more time to observe what is around us. So I stay there by the park. I walk a bit to Camilo, and then I was exploring a bit the point. And I noticed that people they start coming about 10:30 or so, and then very fast the parking lot become packed, and that's when the problems they start happening. People they try to park, they go around, they try to park in some areas they shouldn't park, even by the roundabout. And especially at Camilo Beach, it's really hard to park. And this happens not only in Lagos, this happens everywhere. Maringa Beach, everyone likes to go, wants to go for the Seven Angin Valleys. The parking lot there is very, 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 very small. And even if you go there at 9 a.m., you can't park anymore. And then what are the options? Well, it's hard to park there, and you have to park away. And of course, the more people we have, the bigger the issues. And this is a heads up for people who are thinking about renting a car, which I also suggest renting a car in the off season. During the peak season here in the Algarve, I never suggest this. Of course, it's doable. Yes, it's doable. Of course, it's always doable. If I can drive, people, they can drive. And if I can park here and there, people, they also can park. The thing is, I have way more knowledge, so I know exactly where to go at what time I should go. And well, and many times I have no chance, and then well, I can stay by the van while my guests they go explore the cliffs or I don't know, something else. So what happened is nowadays it's even more important to unplug, and we've been advocating these. It's our brand now, Unplug, and for sure it's going to be a trend for the next few years, because the seasonal travelers, the people who travel a lot, at some point, cruises, they've been traveling in many ways, buses and in rent a cars, whatever. They start getting a bit tired of the same old same, which is, the bucket list of the popular spots. And we notice that we have more and more people asking us for things away from the masses, away from the mass, away from the crowds. And of course, this is where we enter, because of course we have knowledge and we have also this passion to try new things, to create new products, to scouting for places. So we are trailblazers and also trendsetters. So my best advice is get the knowledge, because just hearing people saying, yeah, just go there to Portugal, it's very easy to drive, it's not enough, because the season plays a role and each place is different. And one thing is driving in big cities like, I don't know, in the US or Canada. Another thing is driving in villages and cities in Portugal. But not only that, I'm talking also about even the highways, going through the roundabouts. Many people, they don't know how to go around the roundabout, and sometimes they get into trouble. And there are tensions between visitors and locals. And even the back roads, the rural roads, they are very very tiny, and sometimes people, they get scared. They ask me, Gabriel, oh, this is two ways, this is a two-way road. Yeah, yes, yeah, it is. So if someone is coming, what are you going to do? Well, we will figure out then, no worries. We are Portuguese, we always find a solution. But of course they think, well, I would never drive here. And sometimes they tell me, I would never visit these sports, I would never go here. So yes, it's really important to be aware about this, but it's also important to know that even during the peak season, even in the popular spots, uh, you know, like Lagos, Albufeira, Sintra, Douro, Porto, it's possible to unplug. It's possible to find different parkings, different restaurants, because the restaurants, they tend to become very busy too, especially the popular ones. Because we keep advertising. When I say we, we all in the social media people, they start advertising places, and these places, they become very hard to get a table during the season. So, yes, what can we do about this? Of course, getting knowledge is key. Of course, ultimately, hiring a guide is very important. If not for the whole trip, I know it could be very expensive for some people. Not everyone have the budget to invest in a guide to drive them throughout the week, like I'm gonna have now in June with a family of 8, and sometimes we have two these people. But hiring a guide for one day just to get the knowledge, reaching us to get the knowledge too, because of course we share some tips, suggestions for free. But of course we can also build personalized, we can curate a personalized itinerary to each one of the individuals or groups who are coming here, so we can actually help them to make the best of their stay by saving lots of time, choosing the best activities, the best options, some nice restaurants. So all in all, people, they can save lots of time, lots of stress, and the money they invest in a travel planner like us, it's nothing compared with what they're gonna save by having a curated itinerary. So this is my introduction, and of course we have more things to talk about it. There's many more things to do. Well, in the Algarve, even in July and August, there are spots that we can visit away from the crowds, and people, they can do it too. So we are here to help, and well, just tune in and keep following us. And if you want a more like a professional approach, well, that's what we do for a living. So that's why we are running also these lives, and we run these groups and pages. We are here to help, and we are here to help you to help us too, guys. Well, what about you? I don't know. Maybe I already touched a few things, but I'm pretty sure it might be the same in in northern Portugal or in the central Portugal too. So who's next? Well, I'm gonna throw the ball to Sergio. Well, let's gonna
Okay.
yeah.
So
Well, we
good
are
evening.
you are both in Porto, so well.
Yeah, now we are both in northern Portugal today, exceptionally. But yes.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So again, good evening, everyone. Well, you basically said it all, Gabriel. And for me, the only thing that I would add to it, it's there are some things, some insights that only come from local knowledge and things that for us. We started realizing by hosting a lot of people is that the things that they sometimes miss and that for us can be a little bit obvious because it comes from the experience of hosting people from all corners of the world and from all walks of life basically. One of the personal experiences that I have to share is a very simple question that I always ask at or some very relevant information that I always share with the people that I host, even before I let them inside of my vehicle. And it has to do with the access and the topography of the Douro Valley, for example. And it's one of the things that often people don't consider. For example, driving to the valley can get a little bit curvy at times. And so I always tell people if there's someone who has motion sickness, I always invite them to sit in the front with me. And it's one of those things that people often don't realize until it's a little bit too late, until they are in the midst of the those winding roads over there. And someone who is riding in the back should be riding in the front. And they start feeling a little bit nauseous, and that is going to basically that means that they will probably have to stop the car for 5, 10, 15, maybe even half an hour until that person gets back on their feet, starts feeling a little bit better again. Usually when that happens, it's Lionel, you probably know the road as well, that famous road going down from Sabrosa to Pinhão.
Yeah.
It's a very beautiful
Or
road, plenty
or
of
the
scenic
one that I
viewpoints.
take coming from Amarante to Mesão Frio. Sometimes it happens as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. So, but at least the one from Sabrosa to Pinhão, it's actually a very easy one to pull over to stop a little bit. We have plenty of viewpoints along that road, and okay, so it's not completely wasted time, but it's definitely going to throw a wrench in your plans. If you have to stop and you are basically counting the minutes to get to your first place, if you have a tasting booked or a cruise ship booked for as a first activity in the morning, that sort of delay just because you didn't take into consideration the topography and the seating arrangements inside of the car can get a little bit dicey. And this is the kind of thing that for us it comes as something natural, something that we are expecting because we've hosted hundreds, if not thousands, of people, and we know how certain people are going to behave or react under certain circumstances. And we have those contingency plans or warnings that we know that we need to offer. For example, another example. So I'm actually going to call upon some of the tours that I hosted over the last couple of days, even one of them that I did today. And so a couple of days ago, I hosted a very nice group of people coming from the Bahamas, basically. And over there, they drive on the other side of the road. And the person who was sitting next to me, every time that we got into a roundabout, it was a little bit scary for her because in her mind, she was so trained that in her mind, I was doing the roundabout going the wrong direction. And it's one of the
Yeah.
things that well, we also need to be aware when, and this is something that happened a couple of years back as well. Driving on the very winding roads of the Douro Valley after probably a couple more glasses of wine that those persons should have had. I saw a group of British people driving in those very curvy roads with very low visibility around the corner and driving on the complete opposite side of the road. And it was a two-lane road. So, yeah, I almost saw them getting into a very serious accident because these are the things that we are so well, we turn on our autopilot, which is in our head, and we then completely forget that sometimes, well, we are in a country where they have different driving rules when compared to our own country, the place where we come from. Just today, hosted two ladies. Very beautiful tour that we did. We did a bit of an upgraded tasting at the last place, but while we were driving there, we were having a bit of a conversation because over lunch they came across a person who came from their exact town as well. He was even wearing a hat from a local bar in their town where their sons used to go. So it goes to show that the world is a really small place. And they had a very nice conversation over lunch, and they realized that it was my two guests. They had this chat with the other group, and it was a group of two couples, and they were doing everything by themselves. So two young couples, and they wanted to explore. They wanted to have the liberty. They had a car. The guy that they talked to the most, he was basically the designated driver, and he was like, yeah, it's very interesting and whatnot, but sometimes we feel like we are wasting a little bit of time because we don't know what we're doing, we don't know what we're heading, and both have the liberty to explore at our own pace because we have a car, but at the same time we feel like we're missing out on a little bit of the local knowledge and things that really make our time worth it over here. And this is the thing that they realized, that yeah, it's definitely very interesting. And they got to a point to something that you said quite a few times in the past, Lionel, which is the time that you spend in the country is valuable. And often, more often than not, people don't realize how much they are paying for every hour that they are over here. And I'm not talking about tours or anything like that. I'm talking the actual, when your trip is done, from the moment that you step on the airplane, till the moment you get off the airplane and get back home, how much did you spend in total? So that is the true cost of your trip to Portugal. And so they told me that for them, even though it was nice and young, and when we are young, we only have this willingness to explore and to discover by ourselves. But as they started to reach a certain age, they found that it's actually very important for them. It's the type of thing that they prefer to have a more curated tour, because that way, and these were their exact words, they are not wasting any time, and the time that they would otherwise waste figuring things out, it's better put to use because they know that they have a person who has curated a tour and experience for them. And that means that they can relax, they can enjoy each one of the places that they're visiting because they know that they have a person who is keeping tabs on everything that they need to do. So having a guide means that, for example, we know that around 3:30 we need to leave to get to another place because it takes us 45 to 50 minutes to get to the other place. It means that if we depart a little bit later in the day, we probably are going to have to cut something from the experience. If we leave a little bit early, that means that I'm probably able to include an additional stop and offer them a nice perk that I wouldn't otherwise be able to offer. Other things that are also very important is by doing things sometimes over and over again. I mean, over here in Portugal, we have this very nice expression where we say that "em equipa que ganha não se mexe." So you don't change the players of a winning team. By doing things over and over again, we sometimes realize that there are certain aspects about the timing of the experience that is really important. Like, for example, if we arrive to a first place where it's usually crowded, but if we know that we hit that perfect 5 to 10 minute window arriving over there, we're going to have a place which is going to be pretty much almost a private experience. So it's one of those situations. Another situation that happens very frequently with me is, for example, when we go to have the cruise, which is fairly standard on the majority of my Douro Valley tours. I already know that if I'm getting a little bit late or delayed leaving a certain place, and by the time that I get to the cruise, I will probably have a bit of a hiccup, because at that moment, if I don't get there before a certain time or hour, I know that I'll be having a railway crossing that will be closed because the train is passing, which is going to have a cascading effect, which ultimately might lead up to me missing the boat cruise. So these are things that we don't often realize. People who are traveling to a region, to a place, they don't often realize. But as seasoned travel planners and tour guides, we all know these little things. And so there is definitely value in having a guide, but then, well, there's also value in doing things yourself. So the DIY route is completely valid. But in that case, as like you said, Gabriel, you have to put in all of the legwork to research all of the accurate and up-to-date information. Information is going to be paramount. With a guide, well, this is where we come in. With a guide, you are basically paying us for the research time that we put ourselves and for running by running these tours. And so that way, it makes it a little bit easier on you to invest, because if you don't have the time to do the research, or if you don't know how to find that accurate information, well, we might be of assistance. And even if you don't hire us, just ask. We're here to help. Lionel.
Yeah, well, you mentioned a few things, and um, well, it's curious. Some of the guests that well gonna be with you were with me. Sometimes some guests that well have been with you end up with me or with Gabriel, and so and the three of us we are different, but very often we engage in conversations about the experience and what people felt and all that. And today I just had once again, well, a pickup at the airport with a delayed flight. But normally my arrival time at drop off around Porto or Gaia, whatever, it's 6 p.m. And well, technically it was 6:01 when we pulled at the hotel. Even having left Lisbon almost 2 hours late. So this pretty much just means that, as you said, we do things over and over, and we know how the things run, we know how the things move. And this morning, by example, I arrived at Obidos, and well, parking was a bit full. I went 2 or 3 times around, and already getting ready for the Plan B, which I don't like much, but it's well, when needs to be Plan B, it is. But we found a spot, and of course, I was able to do my tour and walk in the town with my guests and all that. So, but pretty much we ended up, well, doing everything that was planned. Of course, well, scheduling things um, to be doable and not to skip anything and not to cut anything, and pretty much to, well, to provide the experience that pretty much it's normal to do on these tours. But of course, without a lot of delays. So it doesn't mean that we just cut or we rushed anything. We pretty much made things in a very optimized way to make them work. And this is what I've been advocating. And as you mentioned, in fact, I've been talking a lot about how much every minute costs, how much every hour costs over here, and a lot of people don't assess that. And I need to, well, go back to once again to one of the most hot topics around here, that is Sintra. And I keep seeing this mistake over and over and over and over. People want to go to Pena Palace in the morning. They want to visit the Pena Palace in the morning. They want to go by train to Sintra and then get transportation to the palace. I've been repeating this. That is the fastest way to waste time and money to visit the Pena Palace, because people don't realize that the train gets into the town, and whichever transport they need to take, they need to come back to the entrance of town. That is some good 10-15 minutes driving back to take the mountain road to the palace. So that time could have been used taking a transportation directly from Lisbon. That is not a cost so much more that it's going to break the bank. And pretty much time is money. So people keep insisting on doing this mistake over and over and over. And why do people do this? Because they see people writing that constantly. People who did it, they repost, they report that, they post that. Oh, we took the train and then we got an Uber to get to the Pena Palace. So we took the train and then we got a tuk tuk, which, well, everybody knows I'm not the biggest fan of. But they took a tuk tuk to go to the Pena Palace and whatever. Well, it's just about optimizing time. This option, going by train and then finding transportation, and easily cost 1 hour, okay, 45 minutes to 1 hour. And considering that, imagine every hour spent in here costs 20 or 30 euros. Imagine this, dividing the cost of the flights and the cost of accommodation by the hours that people spend here. So it's going to cost more. People are wasting time and wasting money. And then we have situations like it just happened to me last week. I get to Sintra, and I already had read about this, and there was a celebration from our National Guard, the anniversary from Lisbon's head command in Sintra. So there was no parking. Pretty much everything was with fences, everything was with those plastic ribbons. There was no parking. I already knew that was going to happen. I was not expecting to have all the parking taken off. I'm pretty sure that many tour operators got surprised by that, and of course complained to all sorts of ways and cursed all sorts of ways because of the lack of parking. I pretty much just told my guests, okay, I know what's happening. There is no parking in here. Let me go for plan B. And the plan B was to take a second parking lot that exists, which I inquired the police officer, is it open? He told me yes. I drive towards the access to the parking lot, and there's another police officer saying, sorry, no cars can go this way. So in fact, even amongst our police forces, the information is not clear. But I didn't worry much. I told my guests, okay, let's go for plan C. And pretty much drove a little bit further, found a parking spot. We did our tour perfectly. We went for lunch. And when we finished lunch, the van was just pretty much across the road. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of tour operators had their tours messed up. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people that rented a car with probably timed tickets for whatever in Sintra, probably Galera, they missed the time slot because there was no parking. And this
Mhm.
is the issue. Even with all the provided information, sometimes on the field, sometimes on the road, with the boots on the ground, we get surprises. And what we have, it's years of experience that plan B and plan C very often they are implemented, and most guests don't realize that we are implementing the alternative. Sometimes um, the road to the left is closed and we take the right, and if we don't say anything, they think it's perfectly normal. We just took an alternative, and things are working smoothly because that's our knowledge on the field that helps. And well, Sintra has been changing, and I've been saying this. The information that is online, it's outdated, and well, I just well to uh, need to tell everyone I have a few videos, and some of the information, in fact, it's outdated already because the things have been changing, and well, I apologize for that, but I will be back with more information as soon as I can. Well, luckily things are very busy over here, and the things are changing constantly. Sometimes, well, every week there are um, new rules. Every week there's a new closures, monuments that are under renovation, this and that. So pretty much, with all our knowledge, we need to assess constantly what's going on. And this is the best recommendation for people that are planning to travel on the peak season. It's to give always extra time for whatever. I see people posting their plans online for June, July, August, and I just say, this is not going to work. I just think to
No.
myself, this is not going to work
Yeah.
because the information that they base themselves, it's probably information from someone that was here in low season, for someone that probably was here a few years ago, and it's like reading a book that was written 10 years ago. Imagine an engineering or a scientific book that was written 10 years ago. Probably science has progressed, engineering has progressed meanwhile. So what comes that on that book might not be applicable anymore, might not be usable anymore. And this constantly happens in our country. Um, you probably know this area pretty well, Sergio. You know all the works, the construction that they are doing on the metro in Porto. And the other day, I was driving, coming from the Aliados Avenue, um, and Google Maps was telling me that in São Bento I could turn right to come towards the Mozinho da Silveira or whatever. You can't anymore. But Google Maps was telling me you can turn right over here. And the sign says, sorry, but no turning right. So these are the things that a lot of people sometimes don't take in consideration while planning the things, and they plan their itineraries almost by minute. So even for us that we are on the terrain, we need to adjust and adapt, and we know the places very well. For whoever is here for the first time, it most likely it will be in trouble very easily because they just turn where they shouldn't, they park where they shouldn't, and a lot of other things. And then disappointment happens. But in general, I don't see people writing or posting online, "Oh, we messed up." And that is the other
No.
story. People only bring their positive experiences, and they are not real about messing up, about getting the car towed, getting a parking ticket, hitting a rock with a car, damaging the vehicle, whatever, entering a street the wrong way. Or, very recently, we've been seeing videos about people doing U turns on the motorways. I saw a couple different last week, and these things are happening. So of course everybody can rent a car and can drive, but a lot of people don't know how to drive in our country, and sometimes they end up causing issues because they don't know how to follow the rules. So driving rules are different in every country, and with all the things we have, all the towns, all the cities, construction going on, changes happening constantly, this is a thing. And I truly recommend people in the high season to avoid the DIY, okay, or the DIY. Sorry, I really recommend people in the high season to hire someone knowledgeable to help, because now let's break down this into costs, and this is the true reality that a lot of people don't calculate. Just to give you an idea, I'm renting a van pretty soon. I need a bigger van for a tour, and at a special price, it's going to cost me roughly 200 euros fully insured. Okay, then driving from Lisbon and back, a van that size will pay almost 100 euros on tolls, so 90 something euros on tolls. And driving from Lisbon and back, it's going to cost some good 120, 130 euros on diesel. So we already went beyond 400 euros to get a van, okay? Rental van. If you try to rent it just a one-way drive, they will charge a lot for a one-way
Yeah.
drop-off fee. So we pretty much will be probably on the 400 something euros easily, if not more. I remember in one of our previous Unplugged lives some time ago, I had calculated, and there were some options that would cost 800 or 900 euros to rent for a day, a big van, just a one way drive. Now consider this: the value of someone, a knowledgeable guide driving, that has a vehicle fully insured. Because I'm always calculating things fully insured. I'm not comparing a rental car with pretty much no insurance with the service provided with upgraded insurance and full insurance like we have. So you need to compare things like they are. And if you go this way, the value of a guide, it's pretty much just a little bit over what people will pay for renting a van for themselves with fuel, with tolls, and then someone needs to figure out directions. They can still be caught into some situation because not a lot of people are used to drive vans, at this size. And the other day in Coimbra, I just saw someone just pretty much damaging a brand new Mercedes near the cathedral in the street that immediately, if Google would send me through that street, I would say, hell no, I'm not going there because I know this car doesn't fit. And people still insist on doing this do-it-yourself thing, and the costs in the end, sometimes they end up being bigger, and they get way less for their money, because the time they waste stopped in the parking lot looking at the GPS, trying to figure out where to go, trying to discover what's nearby that they can do, they're just wasting time, and pretty much they don't realize that someone knowledgeable would have had a lot more value to them. So yeah, although in slow season things might seem much easy to do, peak
Mhm.
season is here, and from what we know on the field, it's not going to get better. We have more and more people driving by
Yeah.
themselves, and it's not going to get better. So to avoid hiccups, The best recommendation is really to rely on professional knowledge and local advice. We're not saying that you cannot do it. Just be ready to take some time to do certain stuff, and sometimes to realize that probably it would have been better to get someone that knows the field quite well to help you. So final round, guys. What do you have to add?
Well, final round. Yeah. Well, we all know that the Algarve it gets insane in summer, especially
Mhm.
July and August. It's
Well,
absolutely
guess what? I
insane.
will be there in August on tour. Yay!
I mean, it's beyond people. They have no idea, except people who already been here, or the Portuguese people who usually they drive here, so they know what I'm talking about. And no, it's not like Lisbon or whatever, because in Lisbon, most people they know exactly what they are doing. In the Algarve, then at some point we have like a mix where we have locals trying to deliver, we have people who don't know what to do. It's a mess. And then
Let me make a little joke, and sorry to go this way.
no, go
Uh,
ahead.
Probably the locals would say, if there is a little Fiat 500 on the road, stay away from it.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely insane. And each year we have more traffic. We've been noticing that we have way more traffic in the Algarve than 10, 15 years ago. It's pretty
Mhm.
normal. But there's a big influx, especially since the pandemic. Because, of course, the rental cars, they don't have a quote, they don't have a number, a quote, right? So they have more and more cars, and this kind of travel style, it's been advertising. And most people, like we've been saying, they come on Facebook and they don't share the bad experiences. They only sugarcoat stuff. They only do
Mhm.
the cherry picking. But we know better what is happening around. Well, I have guys,
And,
I
and
have
and
partners.
we
They,
see them happening in front of our eyes. Okay, that one
I
in
mean,
Coimbra, I was
well,
working with guests, and I
yesterday
remember
once
telling them,
again, and
I'm hearing the
well,
noise in this street, and this is going to be someone is messing up. Kind of, I was walking with my guests, and I was telling them someone is messing up.
oh yeah. Yesterday, when I was there at the Ponte de Piedad, the parking lot, if you already been there since they were renovated 3 years ago,
Hmm.
there's some small posts. And when you are driving back or when you are trying to park, you don't see the posts. And the technology sometimes it doesn't get the post. They are very very small. And because the parking lot is so tiny, you just insist to go, and then ping, it's not even a big hit. Even yesterday, right next to me, I don't know, a couple with maybe almost 70 years, they just kicked there, right? And then they were looking, so they were already concerned, and then they were like, what the hell happened? And I mean, if someone gives me 1 euro for every day for each car eating the post there, I would get very, I'm not going to say rich, but I will have enough money to travel with my family. I don't know, to visit the US or something like that, because it's
Unfortunately,
happening
yeah,
every single day.
it happens every day.
Yeah, but well, we are well, let's finish. So, yet about Yalgarve. Even 2 days ago, I saw a post. A lady. I'm gonna be there in August in Quarteira with my family, and we are renting a car, and we want to explore. Okay, exploring the Algarve in August, it's not a good idea. It's not. It's simply not. Right? The Algarve is very really beautiful. The mountains, the beautiful coastline, but August is not easy. I remember already guided the Sergio and his family, but we went to the West Coast. In the West Coast, it was pretty much full of people. They were covering. It's not the best time to explore. And when I think about this, is people they have no clue about what is Quarteira in August. Quarteira, Monte Gordo, Praia da Rocha, Armação de Pera. I mean, if you
Well,
can park the car there and leave the car for the whole week, you are blessed, because there are no parking lot. All
no,
these
the
big
thing
high
is,
rises.
they're gonna leave to explore, and then they are not coming back because they cannot find a spot to
No,
park the car.
in Monte Gordo, the local people they put there some big bottles empty, so they keep the
The
parking for
spot.
themselves. And when some I'm not going to say smart person, but when someone goes there and they say, okay, they can't do this, and they can't. But if you remove the bottles and you park your car, you're going to get some scratches, or your tire, they will have some flat.
Well,
And this happenings. This is
I was
happening.
I was today in Óbidos, and there was a vehicle leaving. I already had went 3 or 4 times around the parking lot, and there was someone saying, "Oh, we are saving the spots." Yeah, well, I didn't want to enter into arguments over there, but people feel, no, no, we are saving the spots for someone else. Well, they do that on their countries, but
Oh,
in
no, no,
our
no. Yeah.
country, it's not the norm,
No,
and
that's
that
a
will
different
create
thing.
conflicts. That will create
It
conflicts.
creates conflicts, and well, we're not going to talk about this today, and this is the kind of stuff that sometimes people they don't even bring to the table. But more and more we see the parking lots packed with people in the old towns, a bit everywhere. And we all know, because we are locals and we have friends and we have people who have nothing, there's nothing related with tourism. And some people they start complaining now that where the hell I'm gonna park my car? This looks like
Mhm.
a theme park. See, Faro, the parking lot of the Largo de San Francisco, the San Francisco Square,
Yeah, a quite
thousand,
big one.
thousand, thousand slots. It's getting packed, and locals they
Mhm.
are start saying, okay, this is packed with rent a car. So ultimately the authorities and the government and the municipality they should build infrastructures, or they should put some rules. But while this doesn't happen, the tensions they are rising, and I've been seeing this. I don't know how many people they don't talk about this, but you already know me. I'm that kind of person. Well, let's talk. Let's talk, because this gonna happen, and I'm pretty sure that it's gonna we're gonna have some problems in the future with this tension between so many cars taking places where usually local people they used to park to go work, to go to do something. I mean, ultimately, of course, this is not tourist fault, this is not even local fault, but when we have lots of things happening at the same time and people they feel, okay, I no longer can go there, I'm losing the quality of life I used to have, people they start complaining even online, and online that's where they start. And sometimes jumping from the online world to the physical world, it just need a spark.
Yeah,
Well, Sergio,
yeah,
to finish,
I
sorry
agree.
guys, yeah, well, sorry guys, we've been talking a lot. Sergio, to
So,
finish,
No,
my
no,
friend.
well, that's why we are here. So,
We like to talk.
so
Sergio,
yeah. Well, for me, the thing that I always said, God granted us with 2 ears, but only one mouth, so that we can listen more than what we talk.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to keep it brief, 2 minutes with some final considerations, and just a bit more of a positive note. So some of the things, and this is drawing back from your original post announcing the session today, Gabriel. Some strategic planning to bypass intense crowds and manage travel on busy roads. Um, so my recommendation is you either have to be really adamant on beating the crowds, and let's say, for example, on busy roads, if someone is because you're on holidays and you don't want to rush. And I have done these kind of things. Sorry, these kind of things in the past, where, for example, I was leaving the Algarve after my holidays, and I was with my brother and sister-in-law. This was even before we met, Gabriel. And we were driving up to Porto, and I told them, "Look, this is going to be the weekend. You know that every 2 weeks in August, there's that huge pendular movement of people going from the north to the south, and people going back from the south to back to the north and whatnot."
hmm
And I told them, "Look, guys, I really don't mind waking up at something like 5 a.m. or so and be the one driving up to Porto, because what I really don't like is sitting in traffic or having very heavy traffic driving up north." So we were going to drive up from the Algarve back to Porto. It was on a Sunday, so that would be the day that a lot of people, most
Oh
people,
yeah.
would be returning from holidays. In August, it was one of those fortnight changes. And so we basically, I told them, look, if you guys are willing to wake up that early, I don't mind be the one driving while you guys take the rest of your sleep in the back of the car or something. And so we did it. We beat the crowd. Other things, like for example, if you want to beat the crowds in other things, if you're not willing to wake up that early for certain events or certain situations, if you're reading itineraries and whatnot, there's always going to be some common threads. Like, for example, do this in the morning, do this in the afternoon, go to this place for lunch, etc., etc. My best advice is you're not going to be the only one. If that's posted online, 1,000, if not 10,000 people have seen all of that. So
exactly.
If you're seeing something like that, and if you're seeing being repeated all over and over again, if you can identify those patterns, do the exact opposite. So, for example, Dodo Valley, one of the first things that people do over there, it's going to wine tasting. If they don't have the timings right to get to a vineyard or a place that is going to be less crowded, a lot of people, first thing that they're going to do, they think Dodo Valley, okay, vineyard, let's go, let's do this. I'm going to give you a suggestion. You get to the Dodo Valley after an hour and a half of driving, go for a cruise instead. The 10 a.m. cruise, it's one of the least crowded ones.
Yeah, the quietest ones.
Yep. So this is just an example. So if you see a recommendation repeated over and over again, chances are that a lot of people have seen that recommendation. A lot of people are going to follow that recommendation. And if you want to have a more peaceful and tranquil experience, you're going to follow the exact thing that a lot of people do. Another example over here in Porto, a lot of people say, get the first tickets into the Lel bookstore. I usually tell people, get the last ones, because just before closure, that's when people are already starting to think about dinner. And if you prepare dinner beforehand, or if you've already got the reservations for dinner, then there's not going to be a whole line at the bookstore. And not only that, because most of the people have gone off, you can actually have a couple of extra minutes, or sometimes you might end up with that golden shot, just you and the library. That's it. So these are some of the things. As for alternatives for handling parking challenges, finding hidden gems away from the masses. Hidden gems away from the masses. The same way that we always talk about certain cities, and this is something that the three of us, we don't like a whole lot. It's comparing Portuguese cities to iconic places around the world. Like, for example, saying that Aveiro is the Portuguese Venice and things like that. There's always going to be alternatives for that. A lot of people think, and I'm just going to shoot an example over here. A lot of people talk about Nazaré. Oh, you have to go to Nazaré and whatnot. Why do you have to go to Nazaré? Oh, the big waves. The big waves happen maybe 2 weeks out of 54 in a year. So a lot of people are going to Nazaré. Sure, it's very beautiful with the lighthouse at the top of the cliff, the fishing town down below. It's also very nice. Why don't you go to a more tranquil place instead? Why don't you go, for example, to São Martinho do Porto?
Exactly.
It's an alternative. So no one is talking about São Martinho do Porto. Why not go there? It's a much more tranquil experience. It's a bit of a hidden gem. Very beautiful cove. You have the little access tunnel that leads from the cove to the ocean. So, and even at the top, you have some very dramatic cliffs over there. So for me, I actually prefer São Martinho do Porto over Nazaré. And if you want to go there during the big waves, forget it. It's going to be super crowded. Traffic is going to be an absolute nightmare. It's going to be even worse to find parking.
They block the traffic on the main road. If there's big waves, they shut the road immediately at the Burger King roundabout, and you need to walk.
Yeah. So, yeah. And it's a long walk from the Burger King roundabout. It's a long walk, to be honest. So handling parking challenges. It's like you said, are you going to waste time finding parking in a place that you don't know where you can safely park? Sometimes it's actually worth doing the investment and having a driver who has a fully insured vehicle, the insurances, the licenses, who is paying for full. You're paying for a full package service over here. And it's someone with whom you can coordinate to drop you off at the entrance of a monument, a town, etc., and then come pick you up at the same spot or a different spot that is very convenient. So there is zero wasted time for you, just for a little bit of an added cost when compared to renting a car.
And
so
let me just add something, Sergio. You probably know, and well, everybody knows, and I've been seeing this as well. You might see this a lot in the Algarve, Gabriel. Sometimes some parking lots that feel quite obvious, there's broken glass. on the floor.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Or some
we really
streets.
understand that someone parked over there because probably it felt okay, but they just didn't know that you don't leave a car on the this or that part of the parking lot because it's less exposed, it's more hidden,
Yeah.
and the odds to have something happening are
Yeah.
considerably bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
So these are some of the advices. So methods for traveling in a smarter, stress-free way to maintain a high-quality experience. There are many ways of doing this, to be honest. And when traveling, I would say it's all about you. The traveling is going to be a very deeply personal
Personal.
experience, and I've been saying this over and over again for many times now. If it's your first time in the country, sure, do the highlights, get a sense of the country, but then you can add to the mix some of those lesser destinations. What do you want to see over here? Research a little bit more about it. I'm interested in this, and now with AI tools and whatnot, we are big fans of the AI tools for certain use cases over here in Portugal and for traveling, in Portugal Unplugged and for traveling in specific. You need to know how to use them, but if you give the AI tool some information about yourself, then you can probably get some honest feedback about things. Just double check if the AI tool is not hallucinating a destination that doesn't exist or something like that. So these are interesting things that you can use. Well, I like this. I like nature. I like long walks. I like lakes. I like plains and whatnot. And this might suggest you something like, for example, the Alentejo near the Alqueva Lake. I like the medieval towns and castles and whatnot. If you just say this, the obvious pick of an AI tool is going to be Óbidos. But then, oh, Óbidos, I heard that it's very crowded. Is there something very similar to Óbidos in the country?
Yeah.
You might hear of Monsaraz in that case. So these are things that that might happen. And it's beautiful because I have been to Monsaraz at the height of the peak season, and there's barely anyone there. So yeah, there's going to be people, but it's not. Pardon the expression over here. It's not like you're at a disco on the strip down in Albufeira, where
Yeah.
you're basically just dancing with your eyes. So
Yeah.
that's it.
Exactly.
So so yeah, there's alternatives to everything, and the thing that I was saying, Aveiro, Portuguese Venice, alternatives. There's alternatives to even the popular spots over here in Portugal. Are going to have places that will deliver a very similar, and
Exactly.
sometimes I would dare say even better experience over here in Portugal compared to the things that you typically find just repeated over and over again on those travel groups, particularly nowadays that we're seeing more and more of these groups popping up and just, I'm sorry to put it this way, but just vomiting the same old recipes where
Yeah.
people they are lacking imagination. They lack the sense that Portugal has much more to offer
Yeah.
than Porto, Lisbon, Lagos, Sintra, Douro Valley, Cascais, etc. It's getting old fast, and people are starting, and that's one of the reasons why to be honest, we've been a little bit successful as of late, because people are looking for these unplugged destinations. So end of rant. I don't know if you want to add something else,
Oh well,
Lionel, but from my
no,
end,
I'm.
that's pretty much it.
Yeah, well, we almost went for an hour live, if you didn't
Well,
notice. Um, this new platform has been great because it even helps a lot the things to flow without all the hiccups we were
yeah.
experiencing. And I just want to thank everybody once again for watching. Thank you for being here and for making it right on time to get here, Sergio. And
Yep.
we'll be back next week. So next week, I will be on the road again, and I might get live from somewhere else. And
Well, we're gonna try. We're gonna try to go live quite often here on YouTube too.
yeah,
Because
well, we
YouTube, we had YouTube for a while, but only now we are pushing a bit more, and we're gonna put more content for sure.
of
I'm gonna
course,
try
of
to do the
course,
same tomorrow from Faro. Okay,
yeah. Well,
the
go for
capital
it.
of the Algarve.
So,
Okay,
thank you
guys.
guys. Thank you everybody for watching. See you next week.
See
Bye.
you.
See you
Have a
next week.
great week ahead. Bye,
Have a
bye,
great
guys.
week.
Thank you.
Bye.